back to the BTS Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, Andrea. With me, as always, is Morgan.
Hey, what's up?
First, we'll start with the big news. BTS has given us a date for their album comeback. At the end of the Day 4 Permission to Dance concert in Vegas, they played a teaser video on the big screen, and it showed many glimpses of their past videos in black and white, and it had, at the very end of it, it said, "We are bulletproof," the words on the screen, and then that seems to be the name of the album, is what people think. And then it said the date, June 10th, 2022. And I saw a lot of videos on Twitter. People were recording this, and then it showed everybody's reaction, and there was just like tons of screaming and excitement. Like they thought, oh, there might be an announcement at the end of the concerts, but people thought, oh, it's just going to be more tour dates or something, or something else they're going to do. We weren't expecting an album announcement, but that's good news either way. You know, whatever's happening next is a good thing.
Well, it hasn't been that long since their last album, has it?
Yeah, the last album was B, which I believe that was at the end of 2020. So. Oh,
well, I guess their American songs are just singles, huh?
Yeah, those, and they had spaced those out in the time since then. And, you know, they did some collabs too. They had the My Universe also in that time. The release date being June 10th, that's very near Festa time and the BTS anniversary of their debut, which is on June 13th. So it seems like it'll be a big thing, whatever's planned for that week or that day, because, you know, the June dates have a lot of significance to them. So that's something, we'll see what happens with that. And the fact that they named it We Are Bulletproof, a lot of people think it might be kind of a throwback album, like maybe it'll use some of the beats from older songs, or maybe they'll do like, you know, part whatever of some of the songs and, you know, add new verses or something. There's a lot of speculation about that. Or people just think, just in general, maybe it'll be more hip-hop than some of their more recent albums. Things that people are saying, possibly, and the fact that they're doing a collaboration with Snoop Dogg, that seems like, is that going to tie into this album, or is that going to be something else? Maybe that's a single, though. Or that could be, we know RM's doing a mixtape, so maybe it'll be part of his songs. So we don't really know how that fits in there.
They're going to collaborate with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
You know what they should do? They should collaborate with Coolio to bring it full circle. Because they're on that reality show, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Coolio was yelling at him or something?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that'll bring it back to those early times.
Yeah.
Like, American Hustle life.
Right. Remember when you were yelling at us? Now we're the biggest act on earth.
Yeah, that would be good. And they can make a new song with him, and he can be on it. Yeah.
The problem is Coolio has no relevance.
People today don't really know him.
If you don't know who he is, he's basically a rapper from the mid-90s.
People probably know him from that one song that was in that
No, they don't.
Michelle Pfeiffer movie.
They would if it wasn't 27 years ago.
Well, that was a big movie then.
27 years ago was a big movie. Think about it. A lot of the fans were not alive at the time. So
I guess that's true. Okay.
Whereas Snoop still has relevance today.
Well, he's still trying to do songs and stay in the spotlight. So I don't know what Coolio's doing, but not as much. So the fact that they announced an album date, does that mean they're not going to do any more Permission to Dance concerts?
Yeah, that's it for that, I think.
Oh, okay.
Why would it? I mean, there's a new album.
They're not going to have much time if they did plan to do
So
that.
I hope if you wanted to see a Permission to Dance concert, you saw one.
Yeah, because they didn't do anything in the East Coast or anywhere else in the U.S. So I think even if that's the case, I wouldn't feel sad about it, because they are gonna go tour other places. Just it'll be after the album comes out,
right?
And in that case, it'll most likely be a similar set list, but they just add in some of the new songs and switch out some of the old ones. So that's probably what'll happen.
I don't think it'll be so bad.
Yeah, you guys will get to hear the new songs
Mm-hmm.
for the first time. So, I mean, that's something different. I think there was just only so much time that they could fit in. Maybe that's why they did 4 in Vegas, 4 in LA. So that's the news that just happened at the last day of the show. There's also another school of thought as far as what's inspiring BTS right now. Like some people think, oh, the hip hop and rap and stuff, but then there's also the fact that okay, V went to a jazz club. He's hanging out with John Batiste, and V and J-Hope both love Lady Gaga's jazz performance at the Grammys, and J-Hope went to see her show, which we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
And so it also seems like BTS might be pretty inspired by jazz music or American standards or just that previous era of American music. And maybe that will play into what's going to be on the upcoming album.
I would think, although that would be awesome because we like that kind of music, I would guess no. Just because, well, you might see it thematically. You might see videos where the theme is sort of that.
Maybe visually.
Yeah. But as far as the music, it just doesn't really align with what they do. And at first I was going to say, well, do they really have the vocal chops to sing this kind of music? Because it's like, it's more, you really have to belt stuff out. Like, think of like a Michael Bublé, you know? Like, when we've been to Michael Bublé concerts, he would sometimes just sing without a mic, which is very, very difficult when you think about it, because it's a very large space.
In a venue.
You just have to have a very large voice. But then I also thought, well, that's only been a recent trend of people who sing this sort of music, like Lady Gaga or Michael Bublé. It was not always all that way, you know? Like when a lot of these songs were first written, who were they written for in the 30s and 40s? They were written for Fred Astaire, who's a terrible singer. He has no vocal range whatsoever. And yet he was able to sing them just fine.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these jazz standards, they were written for people who are very iffy, you know. It's not like Celine Dion is singing, Michael Bublé is singing all of these songs.
Right. It's not meant for
It doesn't have to be.
Mariah
It doesn't
Carey.
have to be. So it doesn't matter what their vocal range is. If you want to sing it, you can sing it. You just have to have the personality. And then I thought, well, but they're all English, which is not necessarily easy, right?
Right.
Because the way you sing these songs, if you don't have the vocal chops to just belt it out, you have to put in a lot of personality. You know, it's almost conversational with the audience the way you sing these songs. And I thought, well, if English is not your first language and you're just learning it, that's going to be pretty difficult.
You can't just copy other versions either. Everybody has to do it a unique way.
True. But then I realized that even today, I listen to a lot of jazz standards where it's been translated into another language. There's their French jazz standards. It's the same song. They just translate it, right? Now that would require a songwriter to do the translation, figure out it can't be a one-to-one probably. But at the same time, BTS, they have resources. They can just hire songwriters. I don't think they're going to be singing jazz standards, but I think you might see some of the like visual cues. Like they might be wearing a lot more suits or something. It might look more like Vegas, Ocean's 11. They might be inspired by that whole theme, you know? Yeah. I think you might see that in the future video. Not so much the music for the reasons I've outlined, but the visual theme. I think you will see something like that.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're into something personally, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into what the group is doing or like what kind of themes and storylines that they're doing with the songs. So it might not go with it, whatever they're doing as a group. But I could see that some of them are personally enjoying this era of music. So
how could you not? I mean, nice. I enjoy it, and plus when you're in Vegas, you get to you're right there at
you
the
hear
epicenter.
It a lot.
Yeah, that's the town for it. If there's any town for it.
Mm-hmm. And then so we have BTS is definitely expanding their horizons with this Vegas visit. On the other hand, we've gone to Dueling Pianos on this trip when, we went to Vegas to see day 3 of Permission to Dance. We did some other stuff on those days. And we went to our favorite Dueling Pianos, the East Side Lounge. And very disappointingly, we requested them to play some BTS songs, and they didn't know any. Yeah,
that's true. And it's not like we gave them a small tip either. We gave them an extra large tip, but they just didn't know it.
I was like, "Are you serious?"
And here's the worst part about it. Have you ever been to these dueling pianos? And it's great. It's great, by the way. I'm not trying to down it. If you go to Vegas, definitely hit one of these up. There's good ones at Encore, Paris. Even Nomad has one, as we found out.
We just found out.
Go to one. They're really, really fun. You request music, and then after you request music, they'll play Elton John or Billy Joel anyway. But the point is, it's a fun time, and they didn't know BTS songs. But here's the thing about it. If they really, really wanted to, they could have looked it up on a tablet.
Yeah, that's...
You can like look up the notes and the lyrics. There's places where you can look that stuff up. And if they really, really wanted to, they could just play it, but they weren't that motivated to play it, which is unfortunate because how many thousands of BTS fans are in town that week?
They do that for other songs. Like if they know that artist, it's like, oh, I don't know that song though, but let me look it up. They do that, and they are able to follow along and just do it on the spot.
Right. They don't have to have a song memorized in order to play it. That's what I'm trying to say. They can look it up and play it. But
maybe you at least have to kind of know it to do it that way.
That could be the case. Maybe they're not comfortable because they just never have listened to the song. But then that brings me back to the earlier point. How could you have not heard any BTS songs? It's not even like Korean pop music at this point.
Yeah.
They got radio play here. It's a popular American song.
That's what I'm annoyed about.
Three of them are.
Is that you had plenty of time to learn it. They've had all English songs, last couple of songs. There's at least 3 or 4 songs that are all English, so there's really no excuse. And it's been since 2020, so there's a lot of time to have even accidentally heard these songs.
Right.
And, let me see what BTS is all about since they're so popular. It's like, do you guys try to do any learning on the job? It's like you don't just play the same songs over and over because new music is coming out all the time. And that seems like something you'd want to do if you want to
right.
Get tips.
Don't tell me that. Well, I don't play. I don't play boy bands or some sort of, Rube music or whatever. Like they just play popular music. They're not just playing jazz standards. If they just played jazz standards and said we only play this sort of highbrow music, I'm like, okay, fine. But they play all sorts of stuff. They even play. You can request Backstreet Boys. They'll play that. It's a boy band, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just had the benefit of being ingrained in the culture for 20 years or so. Now, BTS has not been ingrained in the culture for 20 years, but I would say 2 years at this size, I think that's enough. I think that's enough for you to have learned it.
Yeah, especially if you work in music, I feel like you would have heard it.
I've been to a piano bar where I kept on requesting that Big Sean song, I Don't F*** With You. That just came out like 3 months before that. And everybody was playing it. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I was paying them a lot of money to play it. And I don't know. I guess they were okay with looking it up. But I think maybe there's some mental block in their heads. They just think, it's Korean. It's like, but you don't need to know any Korean.
It's like, it's going to be too hard.
Yeah, it's just a pop song. You don't need to know any Korean. The vocal range is not that demanding, right? Why can't you just sing this song? That was disappointing. And I don't blame any particular one person, but I would have thought that we saw like 4 piano singers.
Yeah, I thought
at least one would have, bothered to learn some. There's only like 160,000 BTS fans coming in your town.
Yeah.
So that sucked.
It's been the same guys for years, and you'd think if they heard this was happening, they would have tried to learn a couple BTS songs, at least one.
But in their defense, they did apologize profusely, and they kept saying like, "It's this guy's fault," and it kind of sounded like they were irritated with each other because I think here's what happened: they got multiple requests over the past 2 weeks.
Oh, maybe we weren't the first ones.
Multiple requests, and nobody bothered to learn one. At that point, they were probably thinking, "I'm really tired of saying I don't know one." Well, you should have learned one. You knew they were coming to town. 4 stadium dates, right?
Yeah, and we were there the second week, so...
True, so they had a whole week to
couple extra
maybe
days
learn one, yeah.
to get their act together.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was one negative. But, yeah, so we were there for day 3. We had day 3 tickets, and we were there a couple days before, and we went to see the BTS pop-up at Area 15 on the 13th. So that was something new that they were doing that I've never seen. And I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. I just knew it was a pop-up, and it was like, oh, you can go there and look at things. I thought maybe it'd be like props or something, or, videos playing of like behind the scenes, kind of like what they have at Hybe. They have like that museum of like BTS stuff, and like, oh, maybe they'll have costumes on display or something like that. But it wasn't really like that. It was more like a fan interactive pop-up. And basically you went through this whole tent. There was like multiple rooms in there, and it was like scenes from the videos. It's like Butter and Dynamite, and things you'd recognize, like the record store and Dynamite, or like the basketball hoop, and like the Butter backdrop with the melting butter. So it's a lot of different sets, and then it's very good to take pictures in. I'm sure tons of ARMY took pictures and put it on their Instagrams. So it was pretty fun, and you'd walk through it and look at all this stuff. And once you got to the end of it, it was pretty long. I felt like we were walking for like 15 or 20 minutes inside of it.
Right.
There's just multiple rooms to take pictures in.
Right.
And at the end of it, then there was a merch booth if you wanted merch. And if you went to this and bought your merch there, it was a very short line. So I think that was a good idea, because the merch lines at the concert were super long. I don't know if anyone tried to do that, but those lines were huge. So if you were able to get your merch earlier than that, that was a smart move. And at the pop-up, it was a very short line. So I think that was a fun experience. So I'm glad I set that up. And we wanted to try to get the BTS photo cards in case our MGM hotel was going to give it to us, but we were supposed to go to Mandalay on one of the nights, because we had to go to multiple hotels because of how this trip got extended. So, one of the hotels we were going to stay at was Mandalay, and that was the only MGM one. But they ended up giving us a free upgrade. I don't know why, to Delano, and you asked them, did they have the photo cards, and they like no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we didn't get any photo cards, but I don't think we were probably not going to get it anyway. It was just for the people that booked the special BTS room. But we stayed at Delano instead of Mandalay, I guess because they wanted to clear out Mandalay rooms to have them available at the last minute.
Right.
So we got upgraded. And then going to the concert, we did our plan to take the tram from Excalibur to Mandalay and then walk to the stadium, and that worked out fine.
Well, we had to walk at Excalibur first.
Yeah, we had to get to Excalibur. Yeah. And the tram, there was a lot of people trying to take the tram, so it got pretty full.
It probably would have been better than taking a cab, though. It's just so packed.
Yeah. And
it was still unpleasant to walk that way, though, because this stadium, it was designed with not enough parking on purpose. They just said, well, we'll rely on the parking from the hotels.
Yeah.
But to get from the parking from primarily Mandalay to the hotel, you have to it's quite a walk.
It's a lot of walking.
Yeah, and I can imagine, Vegas can get hot.
Mm-hmm. And I did notice a lot of the hotels had event parking, so it seemed like they were taking advantage of that, or that was on purpose. Anyone who had a car coming from further away and you parked at the hotels and you weren't staying there, you had to pay like $25 at least just to park there. And once you got to Mandalay, then you walked to Allegiant, and they designed it so that they closed down that street that goes over the freeway, and it was just everybody walking all together on that street to get to Allegiant Stadium. So that's how that worked. And it was actually very easy to get into the stadium.
Yeah, it was quick.
Very quick. It was much quicker than SoFi. SoFi, we were waiting over an hour outside and some random line. I don't even know. You weren't even sure if you were in the right line.
Yeah, SoFi failed.
It was very long, and I don't know why Allegiant was so fast. I guess because they corralled everybody into like one place. Like, they didn't have it open at multiple gates either, so you would think, that would slow it down.
Part of it is they're not checking for a vaccine.
Yeah.
I think that was it.
They didn't check for vaccines. And if you had your bag all in order, then you basically went right in, because that's all they wanted to check, is that you had a clear bag and you weren't bringing in any stuff you weren't supposed to bring in. And then it took like less than a minute to get in. I did see, as we were walking there, a lot of people didn't have clear bags. I was like, what are you guys doing? Didn't you check the rules before? Because every stadium has that now. You get clear bag only. Like any place that has sports, it seems like you can't have just any kind of bag anymore. It has to be a clear bag. I don't know if all arenas are doing that, but it seems like some arenas too, just for basketball. But yeah, I guess if you haven't gone to a concert in a long time, maybe you hadn't heard about all that. But yes, a bunch of people had to go back and then go to the bag check and leave their bag there for whatever the price of that cost. But otherwise, if you had everything right, your bag was clear, then it was easy to go in and get to your seat. And this was like the first BTS concert where we were sitting down pretty early. It was like an hour before. So I had plenty of time to get in. And I do think getting in was fast, but leaving took a long time because everybody's leaving at the same time.
Yeah, it's not a good stadium to leave from.
There's only one route, basically, and everybody's walking in the same direction to go back. But, you know...
Well, this is not relevant for most people. They're not see a concert there.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's how... It wasn't too bad. I mean, nothing was worse than, like, Rose Bowl leaving. But it did take a little bit longer to leave because everybody was all going the same way and everybody going at the same time. So that's it as far as the stadium. And I thought our seats, we were in the 300s, and so that's on the upper area, but still I felt like we weren't that far away. Like the way this stadium was designed, it seemed to be very steep seats, probably for line of sight, but it did seem kind of dangerous, like you're walking down and it's very like very steep. If you tripped or something, you could like fall over the edge. So yeah, you had to be really careful walking down. And but I thought it was a good view, and but all the seats were kind of close together, but I guess they would have to be to fit so many people. And the other thing is, like, if someone stands up and then you're not standing up, then they're kind of in your way. That's the downside of that.
It's a typical stadium.
Yeah. So you had to kind of, if everybody was up, then you also had to stand up. So that's how that went. And the show, I know the other episode I talked about how the day one show had a delay because of the technical issues with the screen, but this show, and I think day two as well, went really smoothly. So nothing happened that I noticed. Everything was working, and everybody sounded great. And I saw that Jin had joined in some of the dances, even though he was still wearing his cast and was not 100% participating. I know, like, maybe there was a question of, maybe in this week he could get his cast off or something. I think there was a rumor that he was seen without his cast, so people thought, maybe he'll be, back in his normal dancing and everything, but it seemed like it was still the same. So whatever he did on the first weeks, it was the same.
Well, how come he was dancing for some things and not for others?
I guess it was up to him, like just certain ones.
He's gonna destroy his hand dancing the one thing as opposed to another thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind if you don't want to sit out, go ahead and sit out. But why didn't you sit out all of it?
I guess some of them it weren't as risky as other things.
Okay, I don't understand it, but like, for instance, if you're a football player and they say, well, you can't play. Well, you just don't play. You don't play some of the plays that aren't going to be too hard on you. You're not going to be like, well, I can do this play because it's not too hard on me, right?
Right.
You don't do anything. So I didn't get how he was able to do some of the dances. I'm not saying he's lazy or something, but I don't understand what differentiated some versus the others. They all involve moving your hand a little bit, right?
Yeah, but I think some of them are more precise. Like, you definitely couldn't do Black Swan. Like, that's timed very, like, each second you have to be in a certain spot and, like, spinning around or, doing that exact motion. Whereas, like, Dynamite, maybe, the ones where they're all standing in formation, and they don't cross over each other that much, and they just kind of stay in one spot. Or the other ones where it's just like freestyle, you're just walking around the
freestyle, of course,
stage.
you're not dancing.
Yeah, he could do all of those.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of those throughout. So I guess it's like, oh, okay, it's up to your judgment. And maybe his hand is like almost healed even, but he was just, as a precaution, they wouldn't say, oh, he could do 100%. So I guess they just left it up to him, which he could have probably sat the whole time, but he probably wanted to be more involved in it. And they seemed to give his cast like different colors. I think they had covers on it. It was like white at one point and then black, and then there was some kind of purple pattern later on. So they tried to like match everything to his outfits, it looked like. And so we were at day 3, and there was a couple of funny moments that happened that were specific to day 3. One was V. He was like picked up a bunch of the long streams of confetti, and he was doing a impromptu runway walk, which was really funny. And then RM said he looked like a Victoria's Secret model. And another time,
he looks better than Victoria's Secret models these days.
Yeah, the new generation of them.
Yeah, the 30 BMI ones.
And then this was later on when he was doing his comments. During his time, he was talking about, he noticed there was like more male army at this concert. I don't know if he meant just day 3 or in general or just like, this week. But he's like, oh, I noticed there was more males in the audience. And then so he called for the ladies to make some noise. And then he said, gentlemen, make some noise. And then there was, it seemed like maybe equal sounds, even though there was like less men.
I think they're just louder.
Yeah, they're probably like a guy is twice as loud as a woman. So then they were able to make a lot of noise. And then, so then they showed some of the male fans on the screen, and everybody was like clapping for that. I think like some of these male fans were happy that they got acknowledged. I was like, okay, I didn't even know this was a thing. It's like if you're male or female,
I didn't know
whatever.
Either. I thought most men there were just there because they were with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was male fans, but
Interesting. Yeah.
They got excited about that, and they're like, oh, finally we get recognized. It's like, how they're like, oh, the boy groups, that's for females, and then Twice is like all males going to that. So I guess the BTS is trying to notice.
No, I think with K-pop it's a little different. I think K-pop is a little bit different. I think it's more diverse. I'll be honest with you. That's my observation.
Yeah.
I know it's easy to stereotype, and it's true to a large extent, but K-pop is more diverse than previous, boy bands or whatever.
Yeah. But I think people like that V mentioned that because of that stereotype. It's like, no, look, there's, tons of males that like BTS, and they're there at the concert. So I think that was a good thing, and that was something different. And it was funny because those guys that were shown on screen were like dads and stuff, and they were like so hyped about it. And then V was like, that's right. And he was like flexing his arms.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, Jin. Okay, I think they might have done this before, but when it was time to do the wave with the army bomb, Jin like signified that time by doing a body roll, and then the others were like joining in with that. So that was pretty funny. And later on, also, Suga said in his comments, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I forget what he was talking about exactly, but people were saying like, okay, who's going to be the one to say that phrase? Because it's like so tied to Vegas. And it was like they invented that for tourism. It was like a long time ago. And it was like the thing that stuck with the most when you talk about Vegas. Like everybody knows that line. It was even like a name of a movie, I think. So yeah, everyone was saying like, who's going to be the one to say it? And ended up being Suga. But yeah, I think it was a great show. Everything went smoothly. The sound was good. Other than like, I thought I heard a delay in whatever the speaker that was near the back of the stadium. Or I don't know. Maybe it's because of where we were sitting. Like we were hearing one speaker and then the other speaker. But it just seemed like there was like a little bit of...
there was the audio engineers are not the best there.
They weren't super in sync,
No.
I didn't think. So that was a little bit distracting. The other thing that was happening, I guess on day 2, it got kind of out of control as far as people throwing flowers and gifts and stuff. Like when they go around on the carts, when they're doing telepathy, a lot of people were throwing stuff at them on day 2. Like so much so that it's becoming a hazard, and like stuff was hitting them, and they're like tripping on it on the carts. So I saw a lot of fans on Twitter complaining about that. They're like, why doesn't security enforce this and stuff like that? And so they did update the policy. Allegiant Stadium, they said, please don't throw objects at the artists. And even Ara mentioned it right before that part. He's like, please don't throw anything. We're just going to go in the carts so we can be closer to you guys and don't throw anything. So I think everybody got the message that you shouldn't do that. So I didn't see anybody doing that on day 3. So.
What were they throwing?
What I saw was mostly like little bouquets of flowers. So like one that had like a couple of flowers in it.
Oh, they didn't throw lingerie. It's Vegas.
Maybe that would have been safer if they did that.
Oh.
It's like soft things. Yeah, but I saw clips for day 2 on Twitter, and it was like seemed to be getting way out of hand. Like you see all this stuff flying through the air. It's like, okay, it should be just like, if there's gonna be any, it needs to be just like one every once in a while. One person felt moved to throw a gift to them, but it was like a shower of things on day 2. It looked like. So I don't know why everybody was like misbehaving on day 2, but that's what I observed. And so in the week before, BTS was pretty busy doing stuff in Vegas just like the week before. So it seems like some of them are like really enjoying what's shows and things are going on in Vegas, and others are just kind of like resting in between, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seemed like V was out a lot again. On the 9th, he met up with some Korean celebrities. Teresa Kang Lo, who is executive producer of Pachinko, which I guess it's a K-drama, some popular show. Korean songwriter Brian Lee took a picture of himself, V, and Kang Dong-won, who's a famous actor, on his Instagram. And yeah, so he's the meeting up with celebrities in Vegas. V is doing that. I've heard a lot of things about Hoback Korean barbecue restaurant, which is an off-strip Korean barbecue place that BTS, they've been to before this trip, so I guess it shouldn't be surprising that...
Wait, they've been to the Vegas one?
Yeah, I believe so. That's what some
When were
people...
they in Vegas?
I think they were here for Billboard
Oh, okay.
the previous year. But yeah, that's what some people said.
Well, we said they might go to a Korean barbecue. But then it's hard to guess which one.
Yeah, there's...
Well, you said they've been there before, so
yeah,
it's probably not hard.
But then why would you repeat places? Like maybe...
Because they like it.
That was a risk. Or maybe it was not a risk, because I think they went after hours, so they had it to themselves.
Then never mind. You couldn't even camp it.
Yeah.
Because I looked at the pictures we haven't been to that particular one, but seats are close together. It's like you couldn't hide.
I wonder why they like that one so much.
They just must have good food. I don't know.
But it's not even an expensive place, it sounded like, but...
It's expensive enough.
It must be the...
Korean barbecue itself is not that expensive.
The flavors that they like. Yeah. But there's one particular visit, I guess people saw, or I guess the staff was saying after the fact, that Jimin, Jungkook, and Suga went there after the April 9th concert and were there like really late and having a good time and eating. And then I saw other posts that said, other BTS members went there too, just at other random times, like separately. So they must really love this restaurant. They've almost all of them been there.
Next time they're in town, go there.
This is probably a place that's going to get booked up.
That's probably after hours, though, like you said. There's no way they could have eaten in peace.
Yeah, because I didn't even see anyone get pictures of them. So
there's no way.
I think they probably chose this place because it's like, oh, we can eat there late and
Yeah.
won't be bothered.
They
So
stayed open for them.
I think
Or they didn't stay open. They ate after hours.
yeah, I think that's great for them. On April 10th, this was on J-Hope's Instagram, I believe, but Jin and J-Hope went to see a Cirque du Soleil show, and you couldn't really tell what it was, but I saw later on that that Cirque du Soleil's Twitter retweeted it, and they're like, oh, we're glad you enjoyed the show, and it was O, which is playing at Bellagio, and it's one of the ones that has water in it.
Yes.
So it's a lot.
It's been there forever.
Yeah. So
I don't like Cirque du Soleil.
I don't understand why so many shows are Cirque du Soleil. Is there other dance companies or?
I mean, they specialize in that sort of thing. Vegas just likes it, and they keep selling.
Yeah.
So
I guess once people see that something is Cirque du Soleil, it's like, oh, well, I know what kind of.
It's just French Canadian acrobats. I don't know why that is so appealing. Because outside of Las Vegas, do you ever think, you know what I really want right now? I really want to watch some French Canadian acrobats. Do you ever have that idea in your head? No.
I don't even.
It's never something you seek out in your normal course of life.
I don't even see it playing in big cities.
And yet, when you go to Vegas, well, there's like 10 shows with them.
Like every hotel has like at least one.
And is it just the advertising? Because if it's just the advertising, though, then theoretically their advertising can make you see anything. It could just be like impersonations or comedians or, I don't know, staring at a blank wall. I don't know. They could convince you to do anything because they convince you that you really, really, really want to see French Canadian acrobats.
I think people like dancing. But then they also...
But it's not dancing. It's more like acrobats.
They know that this is like some kind of more upscale kind of dancing. Like
it's just marketing is so successful on these,
yeah.
I think.
So Jin and J-Hope went to see O. And then the next day, V went to see Michael Jackson 1 with his Korean actor friend who he hung out with the couple days before. So I guess they're bonding over this now. They went to see... So this show it's also Cirque du Soleil, but somehow it's Michael Jackson also. Mm-hmm. But you think that's...
Well, they have a Beatles one.
But Michael Jackson, he has his own dance style, so why do you need like special...
Well, if you want to see Michael Jackson dancing, there's another show that's just him. It's like his style.
Yeah, that's true. There's more than one Michael Jackson show. So V went to see that with the actor... This show's at Mandalay Bay, and I have to think that, okay, since this whole BTS city concept was spearheaded by the MGM resorts, they must be offering like, okay, here's free tickets to any show. Go ahead and see whichever ones you want, I bet you that's
part of it.
That's part of the perks that BTS is getting, and then maybe only some of them wanted to go see shows. Others were just like, I'm just going to stay in and do whatever and rest. But yeah.
I'm almost sure they're at an MGM property now.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to figure out
because RM said he hated staying in hotels.
Yeah, he did say it was a hotel.
So it wasn't like at somebody's mansion or something.
It wasn't an Airbnb.
I'm almost sure they stayed at MGM mansion. I know I just said they didn't stay at a mansion, but MGM Mansions is like a special part of MGM.
Oh, I haven't even heard about that one.
Yes, you have. We walked through it to go to Robuchon.
Oh, that's that? Okay.
Yeah. If you book this is an expensive restaurant, Joël Robuchon. If you go there, you walk through the mansions. Regular people can't go there. It's only like 4 Asian guys playing baccarat at like $20,000 a hand or something.
Yeah, I figured they must be staying at an MGM place.
Yeah,
probably the most.
That the one doesn't have access and like has a private driveway. I'm almost sure that's where they were staying.
Yeah, because they probably it needed to be MGM and needed to be something very luxurious and private. So that sounds.
I've seen the mansions. They're not that luxurious. They're kind of dated.
But
they're big. They're big. You could like have a big group and entourage, so it fits.
Yeah. It didn't.
And it's private.
It didn't look like just singular hotel rooms with like one bed in it. Because they did a couple of V Lives, so people were trying to look and see. It's like, okay, where is that? But it had very neutral furnishings and.
Yeah, that's the mansions. They have neutral furnishing, and plus you couldn't get there anyway.
Yeah.
You couldn't say, oh, I know where that is and get there. No, you couldn't get there anyway.
Like the couches were like beige,
Mm-hmm.
and so it didn't really have anything distinguishing. Kind of white walls. It just had that one print that was very recognizable, but nobody could figure out where that was. Probably because none of us are rich people staying in these.
Right.
No one's ever stayed there. That's a regular person.
You can't book that room online.
Yeah.
You have to be a high roller.
You can't even.
Yeah, you have to gamble a lot.
Oh, well, no wonder there's no pictures then to compare
No.
it to.
I've seen some of my people I know who were staying there for whatever damn reason, but they didn't book it online. They knew somebody.
Oh,
Probably somebody who gambles a lot, or somebody who's rich. Well, rich and gambles a lot are the same thing in Vegas, right?
right. You'd have to be one of those people.
You have private access, and we saw the hallways walking through to the restaurant, but that's just looking at the hallways. They don't let you see the rooms. If you want to know where it is, just look for MGM Grand and look at the area in the middle of it that has like an atrium, and you walk in, and it looks like a drug lord's villa or something.
Yeah, it looks like a villa,
like a cocaine,
Mediterranean villa.
Yeah. Like you move a lot of cocaine. That's the kind of place you live in, and that's what it looks like. And you don't get to see it unless you book. Either you get to stay there because you're a high roller, or you could book the restaurant, and then they'll send a limo, and you go in through that entrance. That's the way we saw it. But that's freaking expensive too. It's like $400 a person to that restaurant. I don't recommend it. Well, maybe once in your life.
Yeah, must have very good security and entrances and exits, because no one ever saw BTS coming and going anywhere.
Yeah, they weren't just staying at the top floor of something.
Yeah.
That's not secure enough.
So I think MGM did a good job with their security, because no one saw BTS.
But when you actually thought about it, you could probably realize it.
You probably could, but then it's probably impossible to get past whatever security.
Well, you could hang out outside the doorway of the gates, right? But then I don't know what good that would do you. You just see like cars drive by with black windows.
Right, and then you have no idea who's.
You have no idea who's coming and going.
It could be also high rollers.
Yeah.
Or like, the MGM executives. Correct. So yeah, they must have been staying there, and then they got all these like free show tickets, which that's nothing to MGM. It's like, yeah, go ahead, see some shows.
They give those to the high rollers all the time.
And if you post about it on your Instagram, that's even better, because then people hear about it and like, oh, V went to see Michael Jackson.
Yeah, they're doing MGM a favor, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's very beneficial. So I'm glad that some of them were enjoying Vegas, and they were kind of being like tourists, like regular people. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna catch a show. That's what people do. It seemed like V and J-Hope really liked Vegas the most. And the others not as much. And yeah, the most important.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, we don't. They're not going seeing shows. They're doing other things and maybe not posting about them. So
exactly, and the type of stuff they get into might be even more fun. I mean, I don't even think Cirque du Soleil is fun. So they did that. They some ate some Korean barbecue.
Might be having some crazy parties somewhere.
Think about it. There could be some really good stuff they're getting into.
Right. Well, see if any blind items come out of this. And we mentioned that we went to see Lady Gaga on April 14th, her jazz show.
Yep.
Jazz and Piano, which was at Park MGM, also another MGM property.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, it's like, okay, BTS, they're probably going to go to this.
And we're totally right.
Yeah, and we're totally right.
And we didn't even think of the MGM angle.
No. Now it's like, it's clear. They're going to doing MGM things only.
Oh, that makes sense.
But I had thought it would be V who would.
That's not really that special, though. MGM owns like half the strip.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were so dominant until this point.
It's just MGM and Caesars. They own everything, almost everything.
Yeah, it's kind of like Silicon Valley. It's like, only a few companies
No, it's not.
Have all the power.
It's way less diverse than Silicon Valley. There's lots of big companies in No, this is way less diverse. There's like 2 big ones.
I thought it was going to be V that would be going, because he's the one who seems to be the biggest fan of Lady Gaga, since he talked to her at the Grammys, but maybe he couldn't fit it into his schedule, and they've already left by now, so I don't think he had time to go see her show. But it sounded like J-Hope
went.
He was really into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he posted a really long caption on his Instagram, like praising her. And it's like, wow,
Well, it was a great show. By the way, that's a great show if you can see it.
Yeah, I can see why he wrote all of that, because it was a really good show. And she is very, very talented. Her voice was strong and never wavered. She sang a lot of hard songs even. Yeah. And she held her notes a long time.
Right.
Like, a lot of people think, oh, she's just a pop star. She just does dance music. Nope. It's like, no. She's probably the Judy Garland of our generation, which people don't even know what I'm talking about. But
right. Well, it's just like 80 years ago. Okay.
She's a multi-talented performer. Remember when people said, "Oh, Patrick Swayze, he's like a triple threat." It's kind of
nobody said that. Nobody said that.
Well, Conan O'Brien said that.
Both Patrick Swayze and Conan O'Brien referencing him are really, really old. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Sorry. Triple threat just means people who can sing, act, and dance. Which I guess Lady Gaga can dance. She doesn't dance really that well, though. Does she?
She can dance.
Yeah, she can dance.
But
I don't think she's a great dancer.
Thinking, like, as far as multiple genres of music, too. Like, okay, you can sing, but you could do more than one kind of style of music. One of them is kind of difficult. So I think and she's like one of the few people that's like an all-around performer. Like, there's very few people that can do like a one-person show, and then
she has more talent than the vast majority of human beings.
Yeah,
that's for sure. There's nothing she's bad at, it seems. But anyway, that's not the point. Point is, J-Hope went and saw them. We were right.
Yeah.
If you went and saw Lady Gaga, you probably didn't see him. How could you? He's just one person. But you still got to see a good show. Now, we went to Nomad Bar and Nomad Library after, because she often joins her bandmate, her band leader, when he plays at Nomad Library. Mm-hmm. And in the very middle of the concert, I found that out on my phone, and I booked tickets right then.
Yeah. This is how modern ticketing works. You could just get right on Ticketmaster.
So I think she has been known. We got information that she shows up the bar. I think that's still correct. But when Brian Newman is at the library, she shows up there. And he was at the library that night. And we went to that, which was also a good time. But unfortunately, she didn't show up.
Yeah.
So the whole, hey, she might show up and maybe BTS will do a duet with her. That didn't happen. But half of our prediction did happen, which is pretty darn good still.
Yeah. The important thing was J-Hope was there, and we were right. We were in the same room as him. I was looking
but it was a large room.
I was looking into the audience. I was trying to see, but it was very difficult to see. They had like colored lights before everything started, and it was like dark way down in front where his seat was, and we were not down in front, so it was really hard to see. You'd have to have been sitting within a row or two of J-Hope in order to even see him. And I heard he came in like at the very last minute, like when all the lights went down is when he walked in. So you'd have to be like eagle eyes on it. Hi everyone, Andrea here. This episode was recorded over the weekend, but I had to add in a quick reaction to something I just found out. We were talking earlier in the episode about where we thought BTS might have been staying, and Morgan had a very plausible theory that he thought they were staying at MGM Mansions. Just found out Monday that now we know they were staying at Delano, which is right next to Mandalay. MGM Mansions would definitely have the luxury, the privacy, and the security, but I can see the benefit of Delano. It was the hotel closest to the stadium, so it would be the fastest for them to go to and from for rehearsal and for going to and from for the concert. So it does make sense for ease of travel, but I don't think it's as luxurious as some of the other hotels could have been for someone as A-list as BTS. So I guess that tells you what was important for them as far as where they're staying. But the other thing is we were staying at Delano for one night, so I think we can rule out that they were on the floor we were on, since I didn't see any huge security team or anything different like that. It looked like a normal hotel hallway that was empty. We were on the 62nd floor, so I wonder what floor they were on. I would think a higher floor. I think there was only one floor higher than that, and so there was 63 floors, but actually there's 43 floors because they don't have floors numbered 39 to 59. So it's very confusing the way they number it. I have no idea why they do that. But anyway, we were on 62nd floor, which is probably actually the 42nd floor. And we had a Delano room for one night, but our room was not a good room. It didn't have any art on it. It had no mirrors except in the bathroom. It was kind of designed weird, like there wasn't enough space or something. It didn't look like pictures I've seen of rooms in that hotel. So I don't think it was a suite. It was just some kind of like basic room. And it definitely did not look like BTS's room that I saw that they were at on the V Live. So there's no way I could have put that together because our room had no art and there was just no way to have known that's where they were staying. But yeah, I did see evidence today that they were staying at Delano because I think there was another person I saw on Facebook. They said they were staying there and like the room looked very similar. So I think that's pretty good proof there. So I just thought that was an interesting footnote to the trip that we were possibly one floor away from BTS and didn't even know it. Thank you to our guest, Morgan. You can listen to BTS Happy Hour on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast platforms, or visit btshappyhour.com. If you like the show, please take a moment to rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. New episodes weekly. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Weverse. If you've listened all the way to the end of the episode, you have proven yourself a true fan of the podcast. And in honor of the new comeback, comment with a gun emoji on the latest Instagram post. Until next time, this has been the BTS Happy Hour. Thanks for listening, and remember, make every hour a happy one.